Okay, with a 10,000 pound Elite, it gets mounted like a symmetric lift. So if you look in this shop here, there's an in-ground lift over there in the far bay. We're lined up pretty much with that in-ground lift. Here's an asymmetric lift, which is a little further ahead. You want to center this lift in the bay, front to rear. You draw your chalk lines, make sure everything's square and level, and put your footprint at 132 and 3/16 to the outside edge, which is right here, outside to outside. When you put in your concrete anchors, leave some extra thread, so that way, if you have to shim this tower up, you can put shims in between the concrete and the base plate in order to get this tower to be physically level with that tower, or vice versa. So until you put the overhead beam on and put a level on the overhead beam, you don't really know which way you're going to have to shim. And I never trust my eye. I wait till I get the overhead beam placed on the lift, and then I'll measure it and see where I need to be. Okay, when setting up the 10,000 pound Elite, you'll want to grease the sheaves. So you pull that. Okay, and put a good coating of grease on all the shafts and in the bearings, both sides. Make sure you do that to each sheave before you assemble the lift. So you get two ladders, and you just walk that overhead beam with two guys right on up, set it in place, and start your bolts. And tighten everything up. Then you can start taking level measurements off of that overhead beam, and then you can decide if you need to shim up one or both your towers. Everything's got to be perfectly square and perfectly level and true when you're all done. You're working there on it. Okay, now what that long bolt is for is so that it holds the shape of the tower at the top. You put it on last. It keeps the cables. It's a safety for the cables, but it also maintains the shape of the tower correctly. So even under extreme load, there's no way the top of the tower can widen. So you want to definitely put that long piece of all thread that comes with it right up there.
Speaking about cables, in order to make this a little easier for people to assemble, we start the first cable on each carriage assembly. You see it goes up through that slot and over to the left in this picture, and that cable end, the stub end, needs to be on the left side of that little welded wall right there so it doesn't slide out. So you just need to reach up there and inspect that, make sure that it's locked in place and it won't hop out of there.
Okay, while you take the cables off and grease them, you might just well leave them off, because the cables have to come through there with the pulley off. So leave it off and then put the overhead beam up, then put your cables through, then put your pulleys through. And that is compliant with the new OSHA regulations, where it makes it impossible for your cable to jump off of the pulley on this lift. So that is a new rule or regulation, and this is one of the few lifts out on the market that already complies with that regulation. Okay, these, go ahead, keep going. These are arm keepers, I guess, these plastic deals. You have to remove them before you can put the arms on the carriage assembly and then put them back on. They're just a safety device. Prevent the arm from accidentally coming off the carriage. Okay, on this Elite Series lift, we're going to put together the arms and put in the Teflon sliders.
Ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
now you probably just push them in with your finger, and if they don't go, then give them a little tap. There you go. Okay. Alright. Okay, let's get
Oh,
one. Did it go in? Okay. Alright, and you got two more up here.
this one's way too big.
Okay, then just give them a little, if you can get it started, or grab another one from the bag. There's a lot of them in this bag. So you always have spares. Now we don't put any in the side holes here. That tends to make the whole thing run a little stiff. There's side holes over here. We found it better not to put any of those in. Okay, put that arm in it, or put that tube in this one. And just slide them in there. Okay. Now in this bag there's some washers. Take out about 4 of those washers and put those washers on this bolt right here.
All 4 of them?
Yeah, probably 4. 6? You think 6? Alright, put 6 on. Alright. And that just spacers out that bolt right there so that this doesn't drag. You don't want this. Now, pull that arm out and see if it slides out without scratching the floor here. And see if it stops. Okay, it's got it. Does it slide easy? Okay, good. At least one in the middle. Alright, so on this upper arm here, we just put one button in the middle. Now we drilled other holes, but it does seem like it works best. One in the middle, but you can try to put 2 out here, but one here will work. So now let's put this all together. Here, go ahead. And just slide that in there. There we go. And now put your 2 screws, one on each side right here. And those get screwed in all the way. So the little washers are just for, move your hand there, are just for right here. Just for this. The other 2 there, they get screwed in and tightened all the way down with your Allen wrench. And that's, now go ahead and pull that slider out and see how it feels to you. Okay, is it smooth?
Very smooth.
Alright. Okay, good. Alright. Alright, so you're going to want to put the grease that's provided, put it in a caulking gun, and put a lot of grease in these arm pins and in the arm pin holes here around all the teeth, okay, before you assemble the arms. Okay? Now you take apart your little rod that it comes with, and then you put your...
A lot of grease in there now.
There's a lot of grease. There might be a bit too much on it.
Yeah.
I want to do the same thing here. Get the grease on those teeth. So they're just slipping around.
So you start with hand tight.
Alright,
Take your locking pliers.
alright.
Then you're gonna get onto the bottom guy. Hold on to that in place.
Hang on, let me see where you're at here. Let's get down here. Okay.
You're locking on that so it doesn't turn.
Alright.
Take your wrench.
What size is that?
11/16. Just cinch it
Alright.
up. You don't need to torque it.
Okay,
Just so that it's all now one piece.
okay.
And then take your little cap screw.
Uh-huh.
And then now this will not
Oh,
fall
okay.
apart. It'll now be one piece.
Alright.
And push all the grease out and there you should be good. There you go.
Alright.
And you do
And
that
it's
to all the...
spring loaded. There's a little built-in spring right here at the bottom. And,
I'd like to not grease it.
now that we got the lift operational, We've got it sitting on one lock, on the first lock. We raise the lift back up. We got the oil, or the air bled out of the oil system. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that these cables are tight, equally tight, side to side. So what we're going to do is take all the slack out of these cables so that they come up straight from the pulley. There shouldn't be any bow outward like that. It should come straight up from the pulley like a tight fan belt. Okay, the cables should have equal tension, and like I say, they should follow exactly the shape of that pulley. So when it's tight, quite a little bit of tension on there, okay? You also want to make sure that the starting point of the cable, where it starts up here, is in the right place, in the slot, so it won't jump out. Now let's just say that your carriages are not running level. You've got them adjusted, but let's just say that this carriage over here on the right is running low. So whenever you tighten a cable bolt on a lift on this carriage, I can adjust this carriage to go up by, it'll always adjust the direction of the threads. So by tightening this, we're going to adjust this carriage to go higher first. And you tighten it, use a 12 millimeter wrench here to hold the shank, and then use a 19 millimeter on the base, and just tighten that, and it'll adjust that, and it'll bring this carriage up. At the same time, it'll pull the other side down. Okay, when you first fire up the lift, there's going to be air trapped in the top of this cylinder. All the air that's in the hoses and everywhere else is going to go to the top of the cylinder. So you just crack this open, okay, and you can fire up the lift. Sometimes you got to back that screw off a few turns. In order to get the air out, and then once bleed the air out. There you go. Now, once I get some oil coming out of the top, the lift is just a few, I've already moved the lift, it's just a few inches off the ground. There, we're starting to get pretty good oil there. Makes a bit of a mess, but you need to get the air out of the system for the lift to work correctly.